Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a financial wellness check-in. This is going to be a financial wellness check-in for the month of September. I didn't get to do one in August, but I did do an August reset and that's already up on my channel if you wanted to view that before going through this video with me. But hi, welcome if you're new here. My name is Fatima. I'm a 30-year-old living in the beautiful desert of Las Vegas, Nevada, and I like to talk about personal finance, budgeting, and all the core memories in your 30s. So hi, I'm so happy that you're here. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. Welcome back. I'm excited to have you here. And with all that being said, let's get into doing a quick recap for August because yeah, I don't really know exactly how August went. So let's do that together. I just realized I also didn't do a September reset. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a whole separate video for the goals and personal lifestyle portion of September and August, because this one I just wanted to be dedicated to finance. And yeah, usually I go over my personal goals and we create more goals for the next month, but we're already in the next month, so I feel like I kind of missed my chance there. But it's okay. Let's get into the numbers of August budget. So right now, currently on August, we see that it says that there's left to spend a negative amount of money, but this isn't right. I think I've mentioned this in my past videos, but I'm on the lookout for a new spreadsheet. I feel like I always struggle with a spreadsheet, and no matter how many times I try to fix my left to spend amount and I try to use a rollover, it just doesn't work on me. I think I'm doing something wrong. The meantime, it's saying negative 137.76 cents, but we actually had a leftover amount of over $500. Let me check because I want to give you guys the exact amount. The amount that I got to roll over for September was $587.45, and that went straight into holiday. So this isn't an accurate left to spend amount. Left to budget, it says that we have $8.71, but once more, I just don't think that is very accurate. So let's move on to income. So for income, our budget amount was $9,421.21, but the actual amount was $9,284.49. Bills and expenses, the budgeted amount was $3,624.26. The actual spent amount was $3,767.02. So we didn't do too bad. I feel like that's pretty good. I did have to add a couple of transactions not too long ago, so I did do a wrap-up short that should already be on my socials, and I think the numbers are a little bit wrong, but just because I did miss a couple of expenses that could have gone to the beginning of September, but I decided to add them into August because the spending did go through the very last day of August. Investments, the budget amount was $1,167.18, but the actual amount was $1,170.32. And then for savings, so the budget amount was $439.87. I do have to go into the savings tab to really see exactly what was saved, and I believe we were on track, or actually, yeah, I want to say we were on track. I think we actually put more into home maintenance than the budgeted $100. I want to say that I was able to put in like $200 into home maintenance, so we surpassed the budget amount by $100. It's just showing a negative because we did use some of our sinking funds in August for our sink change. And then I also did pay for my DACA renewal, so that is where the high negative amount comes from. And then debt paid was $2,137.63. I did not pay an additional amount into, or actually I did pay an additional amount into our mortgage. I just forgot to add the transaction on here. So I believe we added an extra $300 into our mortgage. Okay, so numbers are looking pretty good. I don't see anything abnormal or weird. When I go back and think about August, I feel like it went exactly as I thought it would. It probably spent a little bit more on the housing necessities and like the plumbing that I thought that we were gonna do for our sink, our kitchen sink. And then we ended up also changing the faucet for our guest bathroom. So that was also an extra expense that I wasn't expecting, but it was perfectly fine because it's for the improvement of our home. We also did get a new faucet for our kitchen sink. We also got an additional like little black faucet for the reverse osmosis that my father-in-law installed. And then I got 2 new dispensers that matched our new sink a lot better than our previous one. For income went pretty well. I'm actually really happy with the income. Corp income was a budgeted amount of $8,489.28, but the actual amount that came in was $8,593.82. I did get a raise, so there was a difference of $104.54, and that was for our third quarter raise. I have one more raise to go and our bonus. There will be another change before, I believe, or by December, so before the end of the year, and then next year in January, I believe, is when I will be getting our bonus. Then we do have business income that came in, so it was $215. That's from contractor work that I do, and I anticipate about the same amount for this month, so I do contractor work on the side. And I did budget $215. I just forgot to put in the transaction. So we'll do that in a bit. And then everything else looks pretty good. 401k match and my HSA match. Interest earned, it was a little less because we ended up using a whole bunch of money. So I used my DACA renewal, then we did home maintenance, and I think that's it. But that was like a good chunk of money that was taken out of from my sinking fund. So interest was a lot less. The budget amount for interest was $106.11, but ended up being $50.28. Pre-tax deductions and taxes. So pre-tax deductions are the same. Actual amount was $603.80, which was the budget amount as well. Taxes, there was a difference because I got a raise. So the budget amount was $1,139.76, but then the actual amount ended up being $1,160.28. Investments, during this time, we still weren't investing into my 401k. We did take a pause because we decided to save up as much as we possibly could during the home buying process. We just wanted to make sure that we had enough for a renovation and then to add a good amount of money into our home maintenance account. And I'm really happy that I did that. I have absolutely no regrets, but we did start investing again. It's just not on these paychecks. I just started recently during the first paycheck of September. So there will be a big change in my next financial wellness check-in for September. So for 401k Roth, it's still at $0, but I did add an additional $200 into our IRA. For savings, we did save an additional $100 from the budgeted amount as mentioned earlier, and there was a big negative chunk taken out, so it was negative $555 for DACA renewal and negative $362.58 for home maintenance. For bills, there was only one surprise. It was a yearly subscription that I had completely forgotten about. It was for my agenda, and it ended up being $49.99. It was something that I didn't budget. I completely forgot about, and I spent about 2 hours trying to replace the app because even though I knew I really benefited from it, I was using it every single day. I just didn't want to pay $49.99, but I could not find anything else on the app market, and I decided to just pay for it because I do use it on every single day basis, and I really like it, and it helps me stay organized. $49.99 was a bit of a surprise. And then I'm just going to go through the expense categories really quickly. If you want to see more detailed information, feel free to pause the screen. For housing, the budget amount was $610, and we ended up spending $1,322.39. And it is a high amount on here because I have the escrow add-on. So just wanted to explain that really quick because it sounds like a lot. I have the escrow add-on, and then I do add a duplicate transaction when I remove from sinking fund. So realistically, we didn't spend $1,322 on housing. I just don't know where else to put it. So for the meantime, that's where it's living. Then for transportation, we actually spent $0. I didn't even refill on gas, so the budget was $50 and we spent $0. Groceries and eating out, the budgeted amount was $705 and we spent $657.25. $500 $275.99 of that being for groceries. Personal and pets, the budget amount was $800, but the actual spent amount was $226.81. Health and fitness, the budgeted amount was $200, but the actual spent amount was $12.45. Fun and travel, $0 budgeted, $0 spent. Business expenses was $12.99, but actual spent amount was $72.93. This one was also a surprise expense. I ended up signing up for a year of Epidemic Sounds and I was able to get it for $59.94. I tried it years ago and I absolutely loved it, but I just didn't want to spend all that money when I wasn't posting a lot of videos on YouTube. But now that I am posting a little bit more consistent, I figured I'd give it another try for a full year. So I did subscribe for a full year for half the price. And lastly, gifts, donations, and other. The budget amount was $320 and the actual spent amount was $293 with 93 cents. For monthly financial goals, the goals for August was save a minimum of $550, which we did not meet, unfortunately. We were $10 shy of $550. We saved $539 with 87 cents. So unfortunately, I cannot give myself that amount, so I'm going to strike it through. Add additional $200 towards principal, and even though I forgot to put in the transaction, we added an additional $300. Invest a minimum of $200, which we did do, and stick to your bills and expenses budget amount, which we didn't do. I will be honest about that. We didn't do. There was a good amount of budget amounts that we went over, and even though it was a good bills and expense month where we were pretty close off to the budgeted amount, I do want to try my best to stick below the budgeted amount. For monthly money reflections, what went well this month? The first one being that we paid an additional $300 towards our mortgage, and then the other thing was that I am continuously using our sinking funds, because in the past I wouldn't do that. I would just get the money out of our checkings, and that defeats the purpose of a sinking fund. Paying an additional $300 towards the principal of our mortgage using our sinking funds. What didn't go well this month? We went over budget on a good amount of categories, and I want to try to make sure that we avoid doing that in the following months unless it's absolutely necessary. What can I improve and work on for next month? I definitely say that tracking my transactions a little bit better, because I feel like I got a little bit lazy throughout the end of the month, and I could definitely tell that there was missing transactions. There was that principal missing transaction. I didn't add my business amount, which I should be adding in all my income, especially now that I'm getting paid contractor work. Another thing I need to be better at now that I think about it is I need to remember to set aside a percentage for taxes. I didn't do it last month, but I did do it the month before. Set money aside for contractor role. Set aside at least 30%. Okay, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That was August in a nutshell. We have a change of scenery. I had to come into the office because I lost all sunlight. I do have a good amount left to budget because of the fact that it was just such an unsure month. So we will budget that a little bit later, but let's go ahead and start with income. So for September budget, this is the anticipated income amount that I put in. I really just did the bare minimum. I did my corp income, which was actually, it should have been higher than this because of my raise. So the corp income should have been $85.93.82. I'm gonna go ahead and fix that. I think what I ended up doing is I just did a copy and paste, which is usually what I do, but because I got a raise, I should have copied the raise and I didn't. Right now you only see an actual amount about $4,300 because I haven't included the next payday, which is in a couple of days. For everything else, I wasn't expecting any, well, I was expecting a little bit of business income, but because it's a contractor role and I wasn't too sure if the concepts were going to get approved for the content creator that I'm working for, and I wasn't too sure if she was going to move forward with the brand that I selected for her, I put 0 just in case, but she did. So I was able to get an upfront payment of $179.74. So that already went through, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at 0 just because I want to wait until the end of the month to put the full amount because I do have another payday that she is going to be providing me closer to the end of the month. And then of course I have my 401k and my HSA match, and I put $50 for interest earned because we didn't get a lot last time. Next, we have pre-tax deductions and taxes. Everything is looking good there. I did recently have open enrollment at work, so I had an opportunity to change my insurance, and we were going back and forth so much because we're planning a lot of changes, and we just wanted to make sure that the insurance that we were already on, my high deductible insurance, we just wanted to make sure that it was working for us and our needs. And ultimately, after looking at all of the benefits between the high deductible insurance and the middle tier insurance that I could select, because I have 3 choices. I have high deductible, middle tier, and the highest premium insurance. There was just a lot more benefits that outweighed the middle insurance because of the HSA and the tax reduction that I receive from investing into an HSA, like putting money into an HSA. So it definitely lowers down my bracket by a good amount. And I just benefit from that a lot more than switching our insurance to a middle tier insurance. And so far in my HSA account, I think I have close to $18,000. So yeah, it's just super beneficial for us to stay on my HSA account. Even though I do have a pre-existing condition, I have also been able to manage that just by eating healthier, working out, making sure that I'm going to my doctor's appointments, making sure I'm taking my medication. I'm also 30, I'm young, so I feel like we should be fine for probably the next couple of years to just stay on a high deductible insurance. And I mention all of that because I do expect my taxes to be like a couple of cents lower, also because I am contributing again into my 401k. I'm not doing Roth, I'm actually doing just traditional 401k because I do plan to retire early. So I rather benefit from the tax incentive now and pay taxes later because I do have a high income. And when I retire, I don't think I'm going to be working. I don't think I want to. I'd really like Dylan and I to travel and enjoy life. If we do decide to have children, I want us to travel with our children. I definitely don't want to work when we retire. And in the past, I used to say, I definitely want to work when we retire. But I feel like the older that I get, the more that I see the benefit of working as much as we can right now, trying to increase our income as much as we possibly can right now, and putting all that money aside for retirement. For debt, I did already pay our mortgage. I always include the principal and interest separate from all the other items that we pay towards our mortgage, like the escrow, the MIP, the home insurance. So I did budget $2,137.63. That was paid off at the beginning of the month. I did not add an extra mortgage payment for this month. I didn't really feel comfortable doing that, and I still don't feel comfortable doing that. I just kind of want to see how well we can adjust quickly to basically a lower paycheck. I was working closer to a paycheck of $3,300. So in a month I was getting like about $6,500, and now it's significantly less because I'm contributing into my 401k. I'm contributing $300 per paycheck, so that's $600 per month. So that's a lot of money that is being taken out of my paycheck. So investments, huge difference, huge change. For 401k, budget amount $600. So we went from $0 to $600. And for this paycheck, actual amount was $300.78. So next paycheck, I expect it to be $300.78. HSA is still the same. I couldn't withdraw from my HSA contributions when I stopped my 401k contributions. Then we have the employer match for the HSA, which, like I mentioned earlier, I value a lot. And then we have 401k match safe harbor, which is 3% of my salary, I believe, that I get throughout the year. So spread across throughout the year. And that was $128.91 for this paycheck, $128.91. And then for IRA, the goal for this month is to contribute $200. And for this month so far, I did transfer over $100 into my IRA. For savings, as you can see, it's very bare minimum. We do have a new sinking fund right here where we're adding $300 this month. And then I did already add my emergency fund transaction. So all of the interest that we get into our emergency fund is kind of split right now. So I have to do a lot of transferring of money, and it's just such a pain in the butt. So all the interest that we get into our emergency fund or just our savings, we do split them into different areas depending on the need, but usually if we don't have anywhere else to split them into, we just throw it back into the emergency fund. So far I've thrown back $17.06, and then we've added $24.63 into Christmas. I do still have $974.40 left to contribute into the budget for September, but we're going to hold off a little bit on sinking funds. We're going to come back to it. I do want to show you guys the other sections, bills and expense categories. I always have to strike through rent because we don't pay rent anymore. We do have a mortgage, and so rent, of course, $0. For water, so we've had an ongoing water leak that we are still working on, and I feel like we're almost there. We're almost to the point of being able to solve everything. Thankfully, our home maintenance sinking fund has been extremely helpful. Then we have our utility for gas. I budgeted $30, but the actual was $26.78. For electricity, I did budget $175, but we only spent $172.97. My phone plans are up for renewal. I do pay for mine, my husband, and my parents' phone plans, and I renew them every 3 months. So I'm expecting it to be $160 because I did reduce the usage for my dad's phone plan. So he used to get like 20 gigs, so now I reduced it to 5, which is so nice. It's so nice to have a phone plan where you can reduce how much you're using, and it reduces the bill by a significant amount. Oh, and an honorable mention, yearly subscriptions. So I made a mistake earlier. I mentioned to you guys that I had a subscription renewed that I wasn't expecting last month, which I did, but it was the wrong subscription. So the Artful Agenda subscription actually just renewed at the beginning of this month. And the reason why I was confused is because it's the same price as my Ring subscription. So for our Ring camera, we do pay for the annual subscription, and that's also $49.99. So that's what renewed in August. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to renew it next year, our Ring subscription. I think we might change our cameras. I'm not sure. I am trying to find something more affordable. I just feel like that's so expensive for a subscription, especially like a security camera subscription, $49.95. I know that there are other choices out there that are so much more affordable. But the Artful Agenda was still a surprise this month. It still was. And I was even kind of confused earlier. I thought to myself, didn't I just recently do research on this? Like, I swear I did. I don't think it was ending of August. And I did. So the only subscription that I was expecting to renew this month was our Costco subscription for $130. That's why the budgeted amount is so much lower than the actual yearly subscription amount. So far, we've spent $179.99, so we're already over budget on that one. We do have all of our utilities that come out at the very beginning of the month, which is kind of nice, but then also kind of not nice because it's kind of a hefty amount, especially right now that we had this water leak going on. I did notice that I didn't copy and paste my HOA, homeowners, property taxes, and MIP. I'll go ahead and do that right now. Our HOA, we are not paying it until next year. We did pay it upfront. We paid like a full year and then some upfront, right? So the numbers are already on there. HOA was $0. Homeowners insurance, $96. Property taxes, $126.27. MIP, $149.12. Okay, now let's go into the expense categories and how much I budgeted for the expense category. So for housing, I budgeted $100 for home items. So far, we've spent $71.06. Then for toiletries, $40. And so far, we've spent $17.26. Household needs, I did 20. I went pretty conservative on that just because we've bought in a lot the past 2 months on household needs, and I kind of wanted to take a break this month. I was hoping to get our entertainment center this month, but I think I'm going to wait a little bit. I'm going to wait till we save up a little bit more until we find the right entertainment center for our TV. So we're just going to leave the TV on top of the party table. That's fine. So we've only spent $4.30 from the household needs section, and then nothing for escrow add-on. So we're pretty good on household so far. Budgeted amount is a total of $160, and so far for the whole entire category, we've only spent $92.62. Okay, for transportation, for gas, I did budget $35. We have not had to load up on gas yet, but I do anticipate having to load up closer to the end of the month. And then car expenses, I did set aside $8 for a car wash, but I only ended up paying $5.99, and then it rained the very next day. So in total for transportation, we have $43 and we've only spent $5.99. Groceries and eating out, I did budget $600 for groceries, nothing for eating out, and we've spent $307.90. Personal and pets, I budgeted a bit higher for our personal categories. I gave myself and Dylan $85 just because I knew that we both need we needed a little bit more clothing. I have no summer clothing. I have so much winter clothing, but I needed to buy a couple more things because it's just so hot, and sweatpants just weren't cutting it on the days that we had to reduce our AC just to save on electricity. And I started to realize, dang, I have only 2 pairs of shorts and a couple of shirts for summer. I decided to increase our personal budget for some clothing, which I did end up getting, and Dylan got some too. So $85 for both of us. I've spent so far $51.80, and he spent $71.72. I try my best to thrift my clothing, but he has a really great eye for finding cheap clothing at Costco, when it goes on clearance. He bought a bunch of shorts for $4, and he bought me 2 skirts for $4, so that was great. For kitties, I set aside $120, and so far we've spent $81.45. I might have to increase this a little bit more though. For beauty, I set aside $180. So far I've only spent $142.77, but that's gonna go down a bit because I do have to refund an item that made me break out a couple of days ago. In total, for personal and pets, we did budget $470, and we've only spent $347.74. Health and fitness, for healthcare, $35, mainly for medication. Fitness classes, $50. And so far, I've spent $27.27 on prescriptions. And then for fitness classes, $32.52. So $85 for the total category and $59.79 actual amount spent. Fun and travel. So for fun, I did budget for fun this month, $80, because Dylan was telling me that he wanted to possibly buy tickets to a concert, which he did. And I'm excited because I am officially going to do concerts this year. I'm going to go with a friend to watch a Hoyser, and then I'm going to go with Dylan to see Bad Sons in October. So I'm super excited because that was a goal for 2025, go to 2 concerts. And yeah, so $80 was the budgeted amount, and the actual spent amount was $68.42. And then we have business expenses, which is just my Canva, $12.99. I don't expect to spend any money on anything else this month, but probably next month I will probably be spending a hefty amount on business expenses. Okay, gifts, donations, and other. We have 0 for gifts. It is my sister's birthday this month. So what we do is we don't gift anything to each other on our birthdays. Instead, we provide each other with bigger gifts on Christmas time. And for donations, I just set aside $50. Mom and dad, $50. Coco, $50. So far for my mom and dad, I've spent $41.51. Part of that is their gas bill. And then Coco, $32.31. So for the total category, budgeted amount was $150. Actual spent so far is $73.90. And that's it. That's it for all the categories. I also didn't do monthly financial goals, so let's do them together right now. So for this month, I really want to try to stay below our budgeted expenses. I want to keep our expenses below $3,800. Let's do $3,700. I'm not sure if we can do that, but it doesn't hurt to try. Another goal that I want to meet is I want to try to save $800 this month. It's kind of ambitious given that I'm contributing a lot of money into my 401k now. And then I'm only going to do one more goal just because I don't want to overwhelm myself. Massage break. We went over budget on a couple of subcategories last month. I want to try to be in the green within every expense category. That's kind of ambitious, but let's give myself that goal. Wealth affirmations. I will save money by spending less. That's kind of cheesy. Money flows to me like ballet. I'm so lame. Let's do a little ballet slipper on here. Going to our left to budget amount, the goal is to save $800. So far we have $300 on here. I'm going to try to save an additional $500. And because the holidays are near and we really want to try to have at least $1,500 set aside for gifts for Christmas, I'm going to put $500 into our Christmas sinking fund. Now we are left with $103 with 1 cent. We do have family coming down here real soon, and I know that when family comes down here, they usually want to go out to eat. So I'm gonna set aside $100. So now we only have $3.01 left budget, and I'm just gonna leave it alone and call it a wrap. Everything else is looking really good. I feel like we're on the right track for September. I mean, we're what, 2 days away from September 15. We still have a good amount of month left for our grocery budget, and we buy in bulk, and we really just buy like chicken and steak, and that's it. And we try our best to shop the deals. Aldi's has been our best friend lately for steak, and of course Costco for chicken. If you guys have any questions about the budget, please comment down below. Let me know if there's anything that was confusing or anything that you would like me to further explain. Happy to do so. And once more, if you're a new subscriber, hi, welcome. What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button and like, of course. It really helps the algorithm. I really also appreciate you if you're a returning subscriber. Thank you so much for being here. You're the best. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye. I'll see you guys in my next video.